Hey guys, tonight we step into the quiet, patient world of a medieval falconer. We leaving behind the clang of swords and the politics of the Great Hall to find a different kind of intensity, one measured in heartbeats and the rustle of feathers. You'll become a keeper of the castle's most prized hunters, the living jewels of the sky, whose skill in the field is a direct reflection of your own. The truth is, you probably wouldn't survive your first day handling a goshawk without losing a bit of skin. Their talons are sharper than any dagger, and their patience for fools is notoriously thin. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you're aware of is not the light, but the sound. A soft, dry rustle like old parchment being shifted. It's a familiar sound, the sound that pulls you from the shallow depths of sleep every morning before the sun has even considered its ascent. You lie still for a moment on your simple straw-stuffed mattress, which is tucked into a small alcove at the end of the long stone building. The air is cold, carrying the clean, earthy scent of dry sand, oiled leather, and something else. Something uniquely wild and avian. This is the Mews, your home, and the home of the Lord's most treasured hawks. Another sound joins the first, a faint metallic tinkle. One of the falcons has shifted on her perch, and the tiny bell attached to her leg has announced the movement to the quiet dark. A low, sleepy chitter answers from further down the line. You smile to yourself. Your alarm clocks are a dozen feathered predators, and they are far more reliable than any rooster. You swing your legs out from under the coarse wool blanket, your bare feet meeting the cold stone floor. There's no time to waste shivering. You pull on a thick tunic and soft leather boots, the sounds of your movements barely a whisper against the chorus of quiet bird noises. As you walk down the long, central corridor of the Mews, your eyes adjust to the deep gloom. Faint gray light filters in from high, narrow slits in the stone walls, less a window, and more a polite suggestion of the outside world. On either side of you, rows of hawks stand on their assigned perches. They are silent silhouettes in the darkness, but you know each one by its shape. There's Alice, the magnificent Peregrine falcon, her form sleek and powerful even at rest. A few perches down sits Otho, the goshawk, broader and more formidable, a hunter of the woods. You see the glint of a dark eye watching you pass, a head cocked in silent acknowledgement. The birds are tethered to their perches by soft leather straps called Jesses, which are secured to a swiveling ring, allowing them to move comfortably without tangling. You don't speak. The language of the Mews is one of quiet movement and mutual respect. Historians still argue whether the deep bond between a falconer and their bird was one of masterful training or a genuine, albeit unusual, form of affection. But as you look at these magnificent creatures who allow you into their space, who trust you to provide for them, you feel it's a question with an obvious answer. This is more than a job. It is a life. The building itself is a testament to the bird's value. The Mews was a specialized structure, often built with more care than the barracks for the castle guards. The name itself comes from the old practice of keeping hawks in a place where they mewed or molted their feathers. You run a hand along a thick wooden perch, its surface worn smooth by years of use and the grip of powerful talons. Everything is meticulously clean. The sand on the floor is raked daily, and the walls are kept free of anything that could damage a trailing feather. Some falconers, especially those training a particularly valuable or temperamental bird, were known to sleep right here in the Mews, just as you do. The belief was that constant, quiet proximity would man the hawk, a term for taming it and accustoming it to the presence of humans. It was a process that required near infinite patience. You reach the end of the corridor and pause, listening. The soft rustling has subsided. The birds are calm, watching you, waiting. The day has begun not with a clang or a shout, but with a shared, silent understanding. The hunt will come later with its flash of speed and primal thrill. But the morning, this quiet, sacred time, belongs to you and the hawks alone. It's a silent conversation, a ritual of trust that sets the foundation for everything to come. Your first task is precise and non-negotiable, a ritual as old as the art of falconry itself. You walk to a sturdy wooden chest at the end of the Mews, the one piece of furniture besides your bed. Lifting the heavy lid, you retrieve a small, delicate set of brass scales. They are beautiful, a far cry from the crude iron scales used in the castle kitchens. This is a tool of science and sensitivity. It consists of a simple beam balanced on a central pivot, with a small pan on one side for weights and a miniature perch on the other. It's the most high-stakes diet plan in the entire castle, and you are its sole administrator. You carry the scales to the first perch, where Otho the Goshawk is waiting. He watches you with an unnerving intelligence, his dark eyes seeming to look right through you. Unlike the Peregrines, who are birds of the open sky, Goshawks are masters of the dense woods, and they carry a certain fierce, untamable energy. You unclip his leash from the main perch and offer him your gloved fist. He steps onto it without hesitation, his talons gripping the thick leather with a pressure that you can feel even through the layers of hide. It's a familiar weight, a solid, living presence on your arm. You whisper a soft, reassuring sound, a low whistle that is just for him. Carefully, you move to the scales. This is the delicate part. You bring your gloved hand next to the small perch on the scale and, with a gentle nudge, encourage Otho to step from your fist onto it. He does so with a slight rustle of his wings, settling his weight. The beam of the scale dips, and you begin placing small, lead weights into the pan on the other side until the beam balances perfectly. This is the core of your art. A hawk's desire to hunt is tied directly to its weight. A bird that is too heavy or fat is content. It has no reason to chase prey for you. It will simply fly to the nearest tree and stare down at you with what you can only assume is mild contempt. A bird that is too light, however, is weak. It lacks the strength and stamina for a demanding hunt and can easily be injured. Every single hawk has its own perfect flying weight, a precise condition at which it is healthy, strong, and just hungry enough to be a keen and cooperative hunter. It's a number you know by heart, a figure more important to you than the day or the day of the week. Otho's ideal flying weight is known, but you check it every morning, because even a small variation can change the entire outcome of the day. Today, the scales balance. He is perfect. A quiet feeling of satisfaction settles over you. The day is off to a good start. You gently coax him back onto your glove, his talons finding their familiar grip. As you return him to his main perch, you make a mental note. Falconry manuals from the period, like the famous De Arte Venandi Comivibus, written by Emperor Frederick II, offer incredibly precise instructions on managing a hawk's weight. However, scholars debate how consistently these detailed texts were followed by working falconers, who often relied on a deep, almost instinctual understanding of their birds, passed down through generations. You don't have a book, but you have this. The feeling of the bird on your glove, the look in its eye, the slight puff of its feathers. You are less a keeper and more a feathery nutritionist with a very demanding client. Next, you move down the line to Alice, the Peregrine. Her temperament is different. She is a creature of air and speed, less intense than the goshawk, but with a noble aloofness. You repeat the process, her lighter frame settling on the scale with a different kind of delicacy. Her flying weight is lower, and you use smaller weights to find her balance. She too is in perfect condition. This process is repeated for every bird in the Mews. The merlin, the kestrel, even the sparrowhawk, used for smaller prey. Each one is weighed, assessed, and its readiness for the hunt silently logged in your mind. One of the older falconers you trained under used to make tiny notches on a wooden board to track each bird's daily weight and food intake, a surprisingly sophisticated system for an era without spreadsheets. You prefer to keep the knowledge in your head, a complex ledger of appetites and attitudes. For instance, that a sharp drop in weight can be the first sign of illness, a subtle clue that allows you to act before the sickness takes hold. This morning ritual isn't just about preparing for the hunt. It's about ensuring the health and survival of these incredibly valuable animals. The Lord may own them, but you are their keeper. Their lives, in a very real sense, are balanced on the edge of this small brass scale. And as you put the scales away, the Mews is now filled with the faintest morning light, and you feel ready. The first test of the day is over. You and your hawks have passed. Now that the weigh-in is complete, the morning's menu can be decided. It is a meal plan of exquisite subtlety. Otho and Alice, being at their ideal flying weight, will not eat now. To feed them would be to invite laziness, to dull that fine, sharp edge of hunger that makes them such perfect hunters. Their reward will come later, warm and fresh from the field. But a few of the other birds require a different approach. There's a young kestrel still learning whose weight needs to be gently increased, and an older merlin who flew a hard hunt yesterday and needs his strength replenished. For them, you turn to your larder. If the castle cook could see your pantry, he would likely scoff, then perhaps become deeply confused. Your food stores are not for you. They are exclusively for the birds, and in many ways, the ingredients are of a higher quality than what the stable hands eat. You move to a small, cool stone alcove, covered by a heavy wooden door. Inside, it's a strange and particular collection. There are no sacks of grain or turnips here. Instead, you see small cuts of meat, neatly arranged on a clean stone slab. There is the breast of a pigeon, the leg of a chicken, and a piece of beef heart, all acquired from the castle kitchens through a mixture of charm and firm insistence. Medieval falconers were quite clear on this point. Their birds were not to be fed scraps. The quality of their diet directly impacted the quality of their performance, and a sick hawk was an expensive tragedy. You select a small portion of chicken breast and place it on a clean, worn wooden block that serves as your cutting board. Your knife is small and wickedly sharp, honed to a razor's edge. You begin to slice the meat into tiny, bite-sized pieces, each one no bigger than your thumbnail. The sound of the blade slicing cleanly through the meat is soft and satisfying. This isn't just food. It's a precisely calibrated tool. Every morsel is part of your training regimen, a reward, an encouragement, a way to build trust. Beside the meat sits a small clay pot. You lift the lid, revealing a pat of soft pale butter. This is one of the secrets of your trade, a tidbit of knowledge that would seem bizarre to an outsider. On certain days, especially when conditioning a bird for a long flight or helping it maintain health in the cold, you will add a tiny amount of fat to its food. Some falconers even used a pinch of sugar. It was a medieval version of an energy bar, a rich supplement to provide stamina. Historians still debate the true purpose of these additives. Was it a surprisingly astute understanding of calories and conditioning, or was it rooted in the complex medieval theory of humors, balancing the bird's internal state? You don't know the theory, only the results. A little butter can help a bird maintain its condition without adding too much gross weight. You take a minuscule smear of the butter on the tip of your knife and mix it with the small pile of chopped chicken. You then portion it out. The young kestrel gets a slightly larger share to bring its weight up. The merlin gets a smaller, leaner portion, just enough to restore its energy without making it complacent. This is a meal served not by the bowlful, but by the gram. You also prepare what is known as a casting. You take a small pinch of fur or soft feather and roll it up with a few tiny morsels of meat. This is important. After a hawk digests its meal, it will regurgitate a small, neat pellet, the casting, containing all the indigestible bits, bones, fur, and feathers. A clean, firm casting is a sign of a healthy digestive system. As the falconer, you will examine these castings with the focused attention of a royal physician examining a king's Well, you try not to think about that comparison too much. With the meals prepared in separate small wooden bowls, you approach the chosen birds. You offer the food to the young kestrel first, holding the bowl out on your gloved hand. The little bird hops from its perch, lands delicately on your fist, and eats with a quick, nervous energy, its head bobbing. There is no aggression, only acceptance. This quiet act of feeding is as much a part of the manning process as anything else. It teaches the bird that you are the source of all good things. Once the meals are distributed, you clean your knife and cutting block with meticulous care. The Mews is not a place for mess or decay. It is a sanctuary of controlled, natural perfection. The morning is still young, the air is still crisp and cold, but you have already performed a dozen tiny, crucial tasks. You have been a scientist, a nutritionist, and a chef for the most demanding clientele in the kingdom. And now, with the birds tended to, your mind turns to the tools of the trade, not the living ones, but the leather and brass that are just as vital to the hunt. Your attention now turns to the newest resident of the Mews, a young Peregrine falcon captured just a few weeks ago. He is what is known as a passenger, a bird caught on its first migration. He has known the wild, open sky, and he has not yet accepted his new life. He is tethered to a low perch in a quieter, more secluded part of the Mews, away from the calm confidence of the veteran hunters. As you approach, he shifts nervously, his body a tense knot of muscle and feather. His eyes, wide and dark, are filled with a fierce, burning panic. He lets out a sharp, distressed cry, a sound that cuts through the quiet atmosphere of the Mews. This is the most difficult and delicate work you will ever do. It is the process of manning, the slow, painstaking art of transforming a wild, terrified creature into a willing partner. It is a battle of wills fought not with force, but with stillness and near infinite patience. You pull up a small, three-legged stool, its wood dark and smooth with age, and you sit. You place the stool just close enough for the hawk to see you clearly, but not so close that he feels cornered. And then you wait. You don't look directly at him. In the language of predators, a direct stare is a challenge, a threat. Instead, you keep your gaze soft, looking at the stone wall just beyond him. You breathe slowly, evenly. You make no sudden moves. For the first hour, he is a whirlwind of fear. He beats his wings against the air, a desperate, frantic movement that falconers call baiting. He pulls against his jesses, straining to escape. He screams his frustration and terror into the quiet room. You do nothing. You are a rock, a tree, an unmoving part of the landscape. You are simply there. This initial stage of manning is famously grueling. Historically, falconers would take a new hawk and keep it on their gloved fists for days and nights on end without sleeping. This constant contact, this shared state of exhaustion, was believed to accelerate the taming process, forcing the bird to accept the human as a constant, non-threatening presence. You haven't had to resort to that level of sleep deprivation with this one yet, but you know the long hours it will take. This is not a task for the impatient. It's the medieval equivalent of a high-stakes meditation retreat, where your guru is a feathered ball of anxiety with a very sharp beak. After what feels like an eternity, the hawk's frantic movements begin to subside. His cries soften into intermittent, unhappy squawks. He still eyes you with suspicion, but the raw panic is ebbing, replaced by a wary exhaustion. Now you can begin the next step. From a small pouch at your belt, you produce a single soft feather, the breast feather of a grouse. Very slowly, you extend your hand, not toward the hawk himself, but just into the space near him. He tenses, watching your every move. You hold your hand still until he relaxes slightly. Then, with a movement so slow it's almost imperceptible, you gently, ever so gently, touch the tip of the feather to his chest. He flinches, but doesn't bait. You hold the feather there, a point of soft, unthreatening contact. After a moment, you begin to stroke his breast feathers with it, a slow, rhythmic downward motion. It's a curious practice, and one that falconers have used for centuries. Some believe the familiar sensation of a feather mimics the preening of a parent bird, triggering a calming primal memory. You don't know about that. You just know that it often works. His body, which was a rigid line of tension, begins to soften almost imperceptibly. His breathing slows. This is where historians and modern falconers still debate the true nature of manning. Was it a process of breaking the bird's wild spirit, a form of psychological domination? Or was it, as you believe, the slow and methodical building of trust, proving to the bird that this strange, two-legged creature means it no harm? As you sit there, stroking the hawk with a feather, feeling his fear begin to recede, you are convinced it is the latter. You are not his master. You are making an appeal, an offer of a new kind of life. Now comes the most crucial offering, food. From your pouch, you take a tiny, almost minuscule scrap of beef heart. You place it on the thick leather of your glove, holding your fist out toward him, keeping it low and steady. He eyes it than you, his head cocked. He is hungry from the weigh-in, and his instincts are at war. His fear tells him to stay away. His hunger tells him to eat. For a long, silent minute, nothing happens. The fate of your entire relationship with this bird hangs in the balance of this single moment. Then, with a sudden, darting motion, he leans forward, snatches the scrap of meat from your glove, and swallows it. He doesn't fly. He doesn't scream. He simply eats the offering. A wave of quiet relief washes over you. It is the smallest of victories, a gesture that no one else in the castle would ever see or understand. But for you, it is everything. It is the first word in a long conversation. The first step on a journey you will take together. The wildness is still there, burning in his eyes, but it is no longer the only thing. There is now a tiny, fragile seed of trust, and you will sit here on your small wooden stool for as long as it takes to make it grow. Leaving the young Peregrine to his quiet contemplation, you move to the part of the Mews that is your workshop. It's not grand, just a small, well-lit corner with a solid wooden bench and a collection of specialized tools. Their metal and wooden handles worn smooth and dark from years of your own hands shaping them. Here, the scent of leather is stronger, a rich, earthy aroma that you find deeply comforting. This is where you practice the other half of your art, not the handling of birds, but the crafting of the delicate, essential equipment that makes falconry possible. On the bench lies a collection of leather strips, some new and pale, others old and cracked. Your task this morning is to repair a set of jesses for Oath of the Goshawk. Jesses are the two soft leather straps that are always attached to a hawk's legs. One end fits comfortably around the leg, and the other has a slit through which the swivel of the leash is passed. They are the falconer's connection to the bird, and their quality is a matter of life and death. A broken jess in the field means a lost hawk, a loss that is not only a huge financial blow to your lord, but more importantly, a personal tragedy for you. You pick up a strip of new leather. It's soft and supple, most likely sourced from calfskin or dogskin, which were prized for their unique combination of strength and gentleness. Historians note that falconry equipment was rarely made from the hide of animals that the hawks themselves might prey upon, a superstition rooted in the idea that you shouldn't disrespect the prey. You run the leather through your fingers, feeling for any imperfections. It must be perfect. Any rough edge could chafe the bird's leg, causing an injury that could lead to infection. Your tools are simple but effective. You have a small, sharp awl for punching holes, a collection of needles with triangular points for stitching thick hide, and a spool of strong wax thread. You also have a small block of beeswax, which you use to coat your thread, making it stronger and more water resistant. You begin by cutting the new leather into a precise strip. using a pattern you've made from a thin sheet of wood. The shape is specific wider where it will be handled and tapering to a comfortable fit for the bird. With the strip cut, you use the awl to punch a neat row of stitching holes. The motion is practiced in rhythmic, the point of the awl sinking into the leather with a soft, satisfying pop. This is quiet, focused work. It's a time for your mind to be still, to focus on the feel of the tools, the resistance of the leather. It's a form of meditation, a counterpoint to the high-strung energy of handling the birds. The Mews is quiet now, the hawks either digesting their small meals or dozing on their perches. The only sounds are the soft scrape of your knife, the pop of the awl, and your own steady breathing. Next, you thread a needle and begin to stitch, reinforcing the slit at the end of the jess. Your stitches are small, tight, and even. This is a point of pride among falconers. The quality of your leatherwork is a public declaration of your skill and your dedication to your craft. A falconer with shoddy, poorly maintained equipment is viewed with suspicion, much like a knight with a rusty sword. It suggests a lack of care, a disrespect for the art. You might joke with the other castle artisans that you re a cobbler for a much more demanding and bitey clientele. Beside the jesses, you are also crafting a new set of bewits. A bewit is a smaller, even more delicate leather strap used to attach the bells to the hawk's legs. The bells are not just for decoration. Their faint, high-pitched ringing allows you to locate a hawk after it has made a kill in thick undergrowth or tall grass. The sound is a beacon, guiding you to your bird. There is a curious fringe belief among some older falconers that the sound of the bell also mesmerizes the prey, a theory for which you have seen absolutely no evidence, but find amusing nonetheless. You work with a focused calm, your hands moving with an economy of motion born from thousands of hours of practice. You stitch, you trim, you smooth the edges of the leather with a polished piece of bone until they are perfectly rounded. When the new jesses are complete, they are not just functional, they are beautiful. They are a testament to the quiet dignity of your craft. You walk over to Otho's perch. He watches you approach, his head cocked. You show him the new jesses, letting him see them, smell them. Then, with a gentle and practiced hand, you unfasten the old, worn straps from his legs and replace them with the new ones. He does not struggle. He allows the touch, a sign of the deep trust you have built between you. You check the fit, making sure they are snug but not tight. He is now secure, ready for the hunt. As you stand back, you feel a quiet sense of accomplishment. You have not forged a sword or built a wall, but you have created something just as vital to the life of the castle. You have ensured the safety of a prized hunter and honored the tradition you are a part of. And in the silent, sun-dusted air of the Mews, that feels like a victory all its own. The sun is climbing higher now, casting long, soft shadows across the castle bailey. The air is still cold, but the sharp bite of dawn has mellowed into a crisp, clear morning. The young Peregrine is settled, the equipment is repaired, and the other birds are resting peacefully. It is time for exercise. Not the raw, unpredictable chaos of the hunt, but a controlled, graceful practice that is as much a dance as it is a drill. It is time to fly the lure. You walk back to your equipment bench and retrieve the lure itself. To an outsider, it looks like a strange, homemade toy. It is essentially a padded leather pouch, roughly the size and shape of a small bird, stitched together and stuffed with horsehair. Attached to this pouch are the dried wings of a pigeon, giving it a surprisingly realistic silhouette when it moves through the air. A long, thin leather cord, perhaps 10 or 12 feet in length, is securely fastened to the lure. This simple object is one of the most versatile and important tools you own. It is used to condition the hawks, building their flight muscles and stamina. It is also your only reliable method for calling a falcon back from the sky if she decides to ignore your calls and fly off on her own. You select Alice, the Peregrine falcon, for this morning session. She is at her flying weight, sharp and ready, but a full hunt isn't necessary today. A good flight at the lure will keep her mind and body honed. She steps onto your gloved fist with her usual aristocratic grace, her dark eyes fixed on the lure in your other hand. She knows this game. You can feel a low, excited thrum of energy coming from her, a subtle vibration that travels up your arm. You leave the quiet dimness of the Mews and step out into the bright morning. You walk to a small, enclosed meadow just within the castle's outer walls, a space reserved specifically for this purpose. The grass is short and wet with dew. In the distance, you can hear the faint sounds of the castle coming to life, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the rumble of a cart's wheels on the cobblestones, the distant shouts of the guards changing watch. But here, in this small green space, the world narrows to just you, your hawk, and the sky. You gently slip the Jesses from the swivel of your glove's leash, but keep them held loosely in your fingers. This gives her the freedom to fly, but ensures she doesn't simply take off before you are ready. You begin to swing the lure, letting out the long leather cord. You start slowly, a gentle back and forth motion like a pendulum. Then you build speed, whirling it in a wide horizontal circle around your head. The lure wings catch the air, making a soft, rhythmic huff sound that is surprisingly similar to the sound of a bird in flight. Alice watches its every move, her head turning, her body coiled like a spring. Her focus is absolute. This is the moment. With a slight upward toss of your fist, you release her. She leaps into the air, her powerful wings catching the wind with a single, explosive downstroke. She climbs, circling higher and higher, a dark speck against the pale blue canvas of the sky. She is a creature in her element, a masterpiece of aerodynamic design. Now the dance begins. You let the lure drop to the ground. Alice, high above, sees the movement and her flight path changes instantly. She angles her wings and begins to stoop, a controlled, high-speed dive. Just as she is about to strike the lure, you snatch it back into the air with a flick of your wrist, sending it whirling around your head again. She pulls up, her wings beating hard, and climbs back into the sky, thwarted but not discouraged. This is not cruelty. It is conditioning. You are teaching her that the lure is an elusive, unpredictable quarry. You are building her speed, her agility, and her focus. You repeat this several times. She stoops, you pull the lure away. She climbs, you wait, then swing the lure again. It is a dialogue of movement. Her dives become faster, more aggressive. Your timing must be perfect. Pull the lure too soon, and she won't commit to the stoop. Pull it too late, and she might strike it, ending the exercise before you are ready. There is an ongoing debate among scholars of the sport. Was lure flying simply a mechanical training method, or did it represent a form of play, a shared, stimulating activity between falconer and hawk? As you watch Elise carve breathtaking patterns across the sky, her every movement a response to your own, it feels less like a drill and more like a shared, exhilarating game. Finally, after one last magnificent stoop, you let the lure fall and lie still on the grass. This is her reward. She dives a final time, and with breathtaking precision, she hits the lure, her yellow talons sinking into the padded leather. She doesn't try to fly away with it. She lands, mantling over her kill, spreading her wings and tail to form a protective canopy, a deeply instinctual posture that shields her prize from imagined rivals. You approach her slowly, respectfully. From your belt pouch, you take a small, previously prepared reward, the head and neck of a quail. This is a special treat. You kneel beside her, making a soft clucking sound. You offer her the treat, holding it close to the lure. She looks at it, then at you. With a delicate movement, she relinquishes her grip on the lure and takes the morsel from your glove. The trade is made. The dance is over. You gently coax her back onto your fist as she enjoys her reward, and together, You walk slowly back towards the quiet solitude of the Mews, leaving the dew-soaked field behind you. The afternoon sun offers a pale, thin warmth, a welcome but fleeting respite from the persistent chill. The more energetic training is done, but the day's work is far from over. The younger birds, especially the new Peregrine who is still wrestling with his wild instincts, need a different kind of exposure. They need to become accustomed to the unpredictable world of humans, to see the strange sights and hear the jarring sounds of the castle without being overwhelmed by fear. It's time for a walk. You decide to take the young Peregrine. He is still on his secluded low perch, and he eyes you warily as you approach. He has been fed a small amount after his morning session, just enough to take the sharpest edge off his hunger, and you hope to associate you with that pleasant feeling. He is still a long way from being a calm and reliable partner, but the raw terror has been replaced by a deep-seated suspicion, which you consider progress. It is the medieval equivalent of going from, "I am certain this giant will eat me," to, "I am only moderately sure this giant will eat me." Instead of your heavy hunting gauntlet, you slide on a lighter, softer glove. You coax him onto your fist. He steps on reluctantly. His body is still tense, but he doesn't bait. A small victory. You secure his jesses to the leash on your glove, making sure he is safe. Then you place a hood over his head. The hood is a remarkable piece of equipment, a small, soft leather helmet that covers the bird's eyes completely. It is not a tool of cruelty. For a hawk, sight is everything. By blocking its vision, the hood plunges the bird into a state of sensory deprivation, which has an immediate and profound calming effect. With the world of terrifying sights removed, the hawk becomes passive and still. Historians confirm that hoods have been used in falconry for well over 1,000 years, their design remaining almost unchanged. The one you use is simple, with a small plume of feathers at the top, which acts as a tiny handle for placing and removing it. With the young Peregrine now hooded and calm on your fist, you begin your walk. The purpose of this exercise is simple but vital, to get the bird used to the chaos of its new environment. You carry him through the castle grounds, a slow, deliberate patrol through the heart of medieval life. You are a walking, talking desensitization program. Your first stop is near the blacksmith's forge. The rhythmic, deafening clang-clang-clang of hammer on anvil echoes through the bailey. The roar of the bellows and the hiss of hot metal plunging into water create a symphony of industrial noise. A newly manned hawk would be terrified by this, but the young Peregrine on your fist, cocooned in the quiet darkness of his hood, feels only the vibration through your arm. He shifts slightly but remains calm. You stand there for a good 10 minutes, letting him absorb the sounds, letting them become a normal, non-threatening part of his world. You are teaching him that loud noises do not equal danger. Next, you meander towards the kennels. The lord's hunting hounds are in the yard, a noisy, tumbling mass of legs, tails, and teeth. Their deep, baying barks and playful growls are another potential source of terror. Hawks and dogs must learn to work together during a hunt, and that partnership begins here with this slow, careful introduction. You stand at a safe distance, letting the sounds of the dogs wash over the hooded bird. You murmur to him in a low, soothing voice, a constant stream of soft nonsense. It doesn't matter what you say, that's the tone that counts. It's a vocal reassurance that all is well. You continue your walk past the stables with the strong scent of horses and hay, and the sharp, ammonia-like smell of their bedding. You pass chattering groups of kitchen servants, their arms laden with firewood or buckets of water. You even pause to watch the castle guards practicing with their swords in the main yard, the scrape and ring of steel on steel cutting through the air. To every new sound, every new smell, you expose the young hawk. This practice is part of a broader theory of animal husbandry from the time, where it was believed that an animal's temperament was not fixed, but could be shaped by its environment and handling. There is a continuous debate about how much of this was based on practical observation versus philosophical ideas about nature. From your perspective, it's just common sense. A hawk that is afraid of a dog or a loud noise is a hawk that cannot hunt effectively. As you walk, you keep a constant, gentle motion in your arm, a slight bouncing or swaying. This subtle movement helps to keep the hawk balanced and secure, and it's a technique passed down from one falconer to the next. You become a human shock absorber, protecting the bird from the jarring reality of the world. It's a tiring process, requiring focus and a surprising amount of physical endurance. Your arm begins to ache from the hawk's weight, but you show no sign of it. Any sign of weakness or discomfort from you could translate into anxiety for the bird. After nearly an hour of this slow, deliberate wandering, you feel the time is right. You find a quiet, sunlit spot by the old well in the center of the bailey. Very gently, you reach up and, with a single smooth motion, you remove the hood. The world rushes back in. The hawk blinks in the sudden light. He sees the stone walls of the keep, the pigeons roosting on the rooftops, the people moving in the distance. He tenses for a moment, and you feel his talons tighten on your glove. But he does not bait. He does not cry out. He simply looks, taking it all in. The terrifying sounds he heard while hooded are now connected to these sights. But because he was calm when he heard them, the association is less frightening. He is learning. You let him sit there, unhooded, for a few minutes, absorbing the world from the safety of your fist. You offer him a tiny reward, a scrap of meat from your pouch, for his calm behavior. Then, just as smoothly, you replace the hood, plunging him back into his quiet, dark world. The lesson is over. You have shown him the world, and he did not break. With the calm, hooded bird once more on your arm, you turn and walk back towards the peaceful sanctuary of the Mews. Another small, crucial step taken on the long road to creating a hunter. The air is changing. The pale afternoon sun has begun its slow descent, and the light is turning from silver to a softer, warmer gold. This is the time of day the hunters favor, when the shadows lengthen and the creatures of the field and forest begin to stir. A runner arrives at the Mews, breathless, with a message from the Lord Steward. The hunting party is assembling. The Lord desires a goshawk for a hunt in the woods that border the castle estate. A different kind of energy now fills you. The calm, patient work of the morning gives way to a low humming thrum of anticipation. This is the culmination of all your efforts, the careful weighing, the precise feeding, the patient manning. This is the test. You walk to the perch where Otho, the powerful goshawk, resides. He seems to feel the change in atmosphere as well. He is no longer dozing. His broad, barred chest is puffed out, and his piercing eyes, the color of burnt amber, follow your every move. He knows. You put on your thickest gauntlet, the one reserved for the hunt. Otho is not a peregrine who dances with the wind. He is a creature of explosive power, a feathered missile designed for short, devastating bursts of speed through cluttered woodlands. When he launches from the fist, it is with the force of a released catapult, and you need the extra protection. He steps onto your glove eagerly, his grip strong and sure. There is no need for a hood now. He is focused, his senses alive to the promise of the hunt. You leave the Mews and join the hunting party in the castle courtyard. It's a small, select group. The Lord is there, mounted on a fine, spirited horse, his own clothing a practical but rich display of his status. He is accompanied by a few attendants and 2 beaters young men from the village, whose job is to walk through the undergrowth and flush out game. A couple of lean hunting dogs, their tails wagging in a frenzy of excitement, strain at their leashes. The Lord nods to you, a gesture of acknowledgement and expectation. You are not a servant in the same way the others are. You are a specialist, a master of a mysterious and respected art. Your status is unique. and it rests entirely on the performance of the bird currently sitting on your arm. The party sets off, leaving the stone walls of the castle behind. You walk beside the lord's horse, your pace steady and measured. You keep your gloved arm slightly bent, absorbing the motion of your stride so that Otho has a stable platform. He is a silent, regal presence on your fist, his head constantly turning, scanning the fields, the hedgerows, the sky. His focus is a tangible thing. You travel for about a mile to the edge of the dense woods that mark the boundary of your lord's domain. Here, the character of the hunt changes. The open fields are the realm of the long-winged falcons, but this shadowy, tangled world of oak and thorn is the kingdom of the goshawk. The party dismounts. The horses are tethered, and you all proceed on foot into the dappled light of the forest. The air grows still and quiet, the sounds of the open land replaced by the rustle of dry leaves underfoot and the distant call of a wood pigeon. The hunt begins in earnest. The beaters, sticks in hand, move ahead, fanning out and beginning to tap the trunks of trees and thresh at dense thickets of brush. The dogs are released, and they dart into the undergrowth, their noses to the ground. Your job is to wait, to be ready. You stand perfectly still, your eyes scanning the space ahead, your senses stretched to their absolute limit. You can feel Otho's readiness in the slight tightening of his grip, the almost imperceptible shift of his weight. Then it happens. A sudden, frantic crashing in the bracken to your left. A rabbit, startled from its hiding place, breaks cover. It is a brown-gray blur, darting across a small clearing, heading for the safety of a deep thicket on the other side. In that instant, your world narrows to a single point of action. There's no time for a command, no need for a word. Your arm, almost of its own volition, swings forward and up in a smooth, powerful arc. This is the launch. You are not throwing the bird. You are providing the momentum for his own explosive takeoff. Otho leaves your fist like he's been fired from a bow. One moment he is there, a heavy weight on your arm. The next he is gone, a streak of gray and white fury closing the distance to the fleeing rabbit with a speed that seems impossible among the trees. The classic method of falconry, the one most people imagine, involves a falcon climbing high into the air and then diving in a spectacular stoop. But this is not that. This is the goshawk's way, a direct, horizontal pursuit. He doesn't fly over the obstacles. He flies through them, weaving around tree trunks and ducking under low branches with a breathtaking agility that defies logic. The chase is a chaotic, heart-pounding affair that lasts only a few seconds but feels like an eternity. You hear the desperate scramble of the rabbit, the rush of Otho's wings, and the pounding of your own heart in your ears. Then a small cry from the rabbit, cut short. Silence. You push through the undergrowth, moving quickly but carefully. You must get to him now. A successful hawk can be fiercely protective of its kill. You find him in the small clearing, standing over the rabbit, his wings partially spread in the classic mantling posture, his sharp talons in full control. His eyes blaze with a wild, possessive fire. A lesser falconer might try to simply snatch the prey away, a move that would be met with aggression and could damage the trust between them. But you know better. From the leather pouch at your field pantry, you produce a prepared reward, a juicy piece of chicken. You kneel, holding it out, making a low, guttural sound you use only for him, only at this moment. It is a unique and private call. Some falconers hold the fringe belief that this sound mimics a contented feeding noise, reassuring the hawk. You see it as a simple contract. You have brought me this prize, now here is your just payment. Otho looks from the rabbit to the offering in your hand. The trade is offered. He relinquishes his kill, stepping off it to take the more enticing reward from your glove. The lord's beaters retrieve the rabbit for the castle kitchens. The hunt is a success. The lord claps you on the shoulder, a rare gesture of praise. You feel a surge of pride, a deep, quiet satisfaction that is the falconer's ultimate reward. The success with Otho the Goshawk has pleased the Lord, but the day's sport is not yet done. The hunting party moves out from the dense, shadowy woods, leaving the realm of the ambush predator behind. You return the triumphant goshawk to a special portable perch, a cadge, handled by one of the younger attendants, and he is given a small, satisfying meal to keep him content. Now, the landscape opens up into wide, rolling fields, dotted with low shrubs and reeds near a meandering stream. The quarry here is different. Not rabbits bolting for cover, but game birds, partridges perhaps, or ducks near the water, that will try to save themselves by taking to the air. This is no place for a goshawk. This is the stage for an aerial queen. It is Alice's turn. You take the sleek Peregrine falcon from the cadge, her body light and elegant on your glove, compared to Otho's muscular bulk. She has been waiting, hooded and patient. As you gently remove her hood, she blinks, her dark eyes immediately taking in the vast expanse of the open sky. There is no tension in her, no woodland predator's coiled fury. There is only a calm, supreme confidence. She knows the space, she owns it. The party moves into position. The beaters and dogs begin to work the edges of the reedy marshland, their goal not to chase down prey, but to make it fly. You stand a little apart, your gaze fixed upwards, feeling the gentle breeze on your face. You hold Alice aloft on your fist. There is a silent, almost telepathic understanding that passes between you. She feels the subtle shift in your posture, the anticipation in the air. She knows what is required of her. With a soft word and a gentle upward push, you cast her off. Her flight is nothing like the goshawk's explosive burst. It is a smooth, powerful, and astonishingly rapid ascent. She doesn't fly after anything. She simply climbs, her long, pointed wings beating in a steady, relentless rhythm. Higher and higher she goes, carving great circles against the sky. She is not just gaining altitude. She is positioning herself for tactical advantage. This is the classic falconry technique known as waiting on. The falcon becomes a patient, circling sentinel, a tiny, dark speck hanging high above the hunters, waiting for game to be flushed beneath her. It's a display of incredible discipline, a testament to hundreds of hours of training. A lesser bird would simply fly away. Alice waits. Everyone is watching the sky, their necks craned. The success of the flight now depends on a perfect coordination between the falcon in the air and the beaters on the ground. Suddenly, from the reeds near the stream, there's a flurry of motion. A small flock of teal, a type of small duck, explodes into the air, their wings beating frantically. High above, Alice sees them. Her circling stops. In an instant, she transforms. She angles her body downwards, folds her wings back into a tight, aerodynamic teardrop shape, and begins to fall. This is the Stoop. It is the single most breathtaking spectacle in the entire world of nature, and you are commanding it. She is not merely diving. She is surrendering to gravity, harnessing it, becoming a living weapon. She accelerates at a rate that seems to defy the laws of nature, a feathered cannonball plummeting towards the earth. The sound she makes is unforgettable, not a cry, but a low, tearing roar as the wind rips past her streamlined body. Medieval observers would and have known the physics of it, that a peregrine and a stoop is the fastest animal on the planet, but they understood its lethal perfection. The teal scatter in panic, but it is too late. Alice has chosen her target. She does not grab at it with her talons. The impact itself is the weapon. She strikes the chosen duck in midair with a force that is astonishing, a close fist of bone and feather hitting with pinpoint precision. There is a soft puff of feathers, and the stricken bird simply folds, tumbling lifelessly from the sky. The rest of the flock scatters, disappearing over the horizon. Alice does not fall with her prey. With a masterful flick of her wings, she pulls out of her dive, her momentum carrying her back up in a graceful, sweeping arc. She circles once, then follows the fallen duck to the ground, landing delicately beside it in the tall grass. The entire event, from the flushing of the ducks to the final impact, has taken less than 10 seconds. The field is silent, the members of the hunting party letting out a collective, hushed breath of awe. Even the Lord, who has seen this 100 times, shakes his head in quiet admiration. Now your job resumes. You make your way to where Alice stands beside her prize. There's no aggression in her, no frantic mantling like the Goshawk. She simply waits for you. This is the mark of a truly well-trained, high-flying falcon. There is a long-standing scholarly debate about whether this calm demeanor at the kill is a result of selective breeding over centuries or a specific outcome of training techniques that reward patience over possessiveness. Kneeling beside her, you perform the familiar ritual. You praise her with a soft, cooing voice, and you offer the trade. A small, delicious piece of prepared meat for the duck she has taken. She accepts the offering gracefully and steps back onto your glove. The hunt is over. The Queen of the Sky has performed her duty flawlessly, and as you walk back toward the waiting horses, you feel a pride so deep and pure it almost feels like flying yourself. The journey back to the castle is different from the journey out. The tense anticipation of the hunt has dissolved, replaced by a warm and easy satisfaction. The Lord is in high spirits, laughing as he recounts the breathtaking moment of Alice's stoop to his attendants. The dogs trot alongside, tongues lolling, happily weary. You walk with the party, a quiet but integral part of their success. The cadge boy walks nearby, carefully balancing the portable perch where both Otho and Alice now sit, hooded and calm, their work for the day magnificently done. As you walk, you feel the unique nature of your position in the castle's intricate social web. You are not a noble, yet you handle the very symbols of nobility. You are not a simple servant, yet your life is one of dedicated service. Your status is as fluid and dependent on context as the flight of a hawk on the wind. It is defined, in large part, by the birds themselves. For in the medieval world, not all hawks are created equal. There is a rigid, unspoken hierarchy, a feathered great chain of being where the bird on a person as fist is a direct statement of their rank. Alice, the Peregrine, is a perfect example. The Peregrine falcon, with its noble bearing and mastery of the open sky, was widely considered a bird for a prince or an earl. Her presence on your lord's hunting party is no accident. It is a subtle display of his power and prestige, as clear a statement of his standing as the fine cloth of his tunic or the number of knights in his service. To fly a peregrine was to announce your place in the world. Then there is Otho, the Goshawk, a magnificent hunter, powerful and deadly, but he carries a different social weight. The Goshawk was considered a yeoman's bird, a practical, formidable hunter for the woods, yes, but lacking the aristocratic flair of the high-flying falcons. He was the bird of a wealthy landowner, a franklin, or a country squire, a man of substance, but not of the highest nobility. When the Lord chooses to hunt with Otho, he is making a statement of practicality, of his connection to the tangible bounty of his own lands. When he hunts with Alice, he is making a statement of pure aspirational class. You, as the falconer, exist in the strange space between them. You handle both, your skill granting you access to these living symbols of status. It's a curious position. Your hands are common, but the creatures they tend are royal. It is a fact you are keenly aware of as the Lord asks you a technical question about Alice's conditioning. Speaking to you not as a master to a servant, but as one expert to another, this hierarchy was not just a loose tradition. For a time, it was even written down. The famous book of St. Albans, a treatise on hawking, hunting, and heraldry from the 15th century, laid it out explicitly. It assigned a specific species of raptor to every rank of society. According to the book, the mighty falcon, the largest and most powerful of all falcons, was reserved strictly for a king. An emperor, naturally, got an eagle. The peregrine was for a prince, and so it went down the line. The kestrel for a knave or servant, and the sparrowhawk for a priest. It was a complete social order reflected in the birds of the sky. You chuckle quietly to yourself, imagining the stable boy trying to impress a kitchen maid with his fearsome kestrel. Of course, historians still argue whether these sumptuary laws of falconry were rigid, legally enforced rules, or more of a social guideline, a reflection of an idealized order rather than everyday reality. Certainly, a wealthy merchant might try to acquire a bird above his station to put on airs, but he would risk ridicule, if not outright punishment, for his presumption. For you, the law is simple. You handle the birds the Lord provides. If you were to acquire a gerfalcon perhaps as a diplomatic gift from a king, as was often the case, you would handle it with the same skill, but with the added nerve-wracking knowledge that you were holding a creature with more social standing than half the people in the castle. The sun is low now, casting the castle ahead in a warm orange glow. Its stone walls, which looked cold and imposing at dawn, now seem like a welcoming embrace. The party grows quiet as you approach the gate, the mood shifting from the open field exhilaration of the hunt to the enclosed, ordered life of the castle. You watch the cadge boy ahead, see the way he carries the perch with a reverent care. He too understands, although an Alice are not just birds. They are living emblems of a world where everyone and everything has its proper place. And your place for now is here, walking beside a lord with the faint, sweet smell of success in the cool evening air, your mind already turning to the evening rituals that will close the day. There are days when the hunt is a small, practical affair, like the one you just concluded. But there are other days, grander and more ceremonial, when a lord decides to entertain guests or make a significant display of his wealth and power. On those days, the hunt becomes a magnificent, rolling procession, and your role, while still central, becomes part of a much larger performance. This is when the cadge truly comes into its own. You are not hunting today, but as you walk back, you recall a hunt from last autumn when the lord hosted a neighboring baron. For that occasion, you were instructed to bring not 2, but 6 of the finest birds. To carry so many hawks at once is impossible for a single falconer, and so you used the royal cadge. It is not just the small, portable perch the attendant is carrying now. The true cadge is a much larger apparatus, a sturdy wooden frame, often square or circular, designed to be carried by a strong young man, the cadge boy using a set of shoulder straps. The hawks are tethered to the padded bars of the frame, sitting in a regal, assembled row, like a feathered royal court on tour. The cadge boy's job is one of immense responsibility and physical strain. He must be strong enough to carry the weight of the frame and half a dozen powerful birds for miles, and he must walk with a peculiar rolling gait that absorbs the shock of his steps, ensuring the hawks are not jostled or alarmed. To be chosen as a cadge boy is a great honor for a young man of the castle, a first step into the prestigious world of falconry. It's a job that comes with a unique and slightly comical historical footnote. The term codger, now used to describe a cranky old man, is believed by some etymologists to derive from cadger, referring to the often irritable old falconers who would bark orders at their young assistants. You make a mental note to be a bit kinder to your own attendant. On the day of the great hunt, you walked beside the cadge, a master of ceremonies for your aerial performers. The visiting baron rode alongside your lord, his eyes assessing the quality of your birds. The conversation was of bloodlines, of famous hunts, of the subtle art of conditioning. The hawks themselves, sitting hooded and majestic upon the cadge, were the primary subject. They were passed back and forth between you and the lord as the terrain and the quarry dictated. A goshawk for the woods, a peregrine for the open fields. perhaps even a fast little merlin for hunting larks, a sport considered particularly delicate and skillful. The entire event was a piece of carefully orchestrated theater. Every element was designed to impress. The quality of the horses, the skill of the dog handlers, the fine leather of the falconry equipment, and, above all, the discipline and performance of the hawks. A successful flight was met with nods of profound appreciation. A hawk that performed poorly or worse, refused to hunt, would bring a shadow of shame not just upon you, but upon your lord. The pressure on those days is immense. Your reputation, and in some ways your lord's, is literally hanging in the balance, circling 1,000 feet above your head. You remember one particularly tense moment during that autumn hunt. The lord had called for his favorite falcon, a magnificent, almost pure white bird that had been a gift from a northern duke. The falcon was a creature of immense prestige and a notoriously fickle temperament. You had presented the bird to the lord, placing the powerful falcon on his own gloved fist. Game was flushed, and the lord cast off the falcon. But instead of climbing to wait on, the great falcon simply flew to a nearby oak tree, where it sat, utterly impassive, ignoring every call and every swing of the lure. The silence was thick and heavy. The visiting baron was polite enough not to say anything, but a faint, knowing smile played on his lips. Your lord's face was a mask of thunderous disappointment. In that moment, the failure was total. It was your moment to act. You had to retrieve the bird, and do it without causing a scene. You walked slowly to the base of the tree. There is a long-standing scholarly debate surrounding the best methods for retrieving a disobedient hawk. Some medieval texts advise starving the bird into submission over days, while others suggest complex and sometimes bizarre tricks with lures and live bait. You relied on something simpler, a deep, personal knowledge of that specific bird. You knew that this falcon had a particular fondness for a certain type of whistle, a sound you had used since he was a young bird. You also knew he was exceptionally proud and would not be tempted by a simple lure in a moment of defiance. So you did not swing the lure. You simply stood, looked up, and gave the low, warbling whistle. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with a slow, almost grudging movement, the great falcon launched from the branch and flew down, not to the lure, but directly to your offered fist. The silent challenge was over. He had made his point, and you had made yours. You returned the bird to the cadge boy, hooded him, and suggested to the lord, in a low, diplomatic voice, that the wind was not quite right for this particular bird today. A crisis was averted. Your lord's honor was preserved, and your own value was quietly but firmly reestablished. You were pulled from your reverie by the sound of the castle gate groaning open. The hunting party is home. The memory of the grand hunt fades, and you are back in the present moment, with 2 successful birds and a satisfied lord. The theater is over. Now the final crucial rituals of the day can begin. Back within the stone confines of the Mews, the day's work enters its final satisfying phase. The successful hunt is not complete until the hunters themselves have been rewarded and properly cared for. This is not just a matter of throwing them some scraps. It is a carefully managed feast, a ritual that reinforces your bond and prepares them for the next day of work. Your first duty is to Otho, the Goshawk. He is taken from the cadge and brought to a special feeding perch. His kill, the rabbit, has already been taken to the castle kitchens to be prepared for the lord's table. In its place, you offer him his rightful share. It's a practice known as making in. You will not give him the whole rabbit that would make him fat and lazy for days. Instead, you offer him a choice portion, a reward that is both satisfying and nutritionally sound. This is a critical part of the process. A hawk must be allowed to eat from its prey, or a suitable substitute, to feel the full satisfaction of the hunt. If you were to simply take the kill away without a trade, the bird would quickly learn to carry its prey, flying off to a tree to eat in secret, a disastrous habit for a falconer. You take a leg from another rabbit, saved for this purpose, and with your sharp knife, you make a few strategic cuts. You present it to Otho on your glove. He takes it with a fierce possessiveness, his talons gripping the meat tightly. He begins to eat, tearing at the meat with his sharp, hooked beak. It is a primal, savage, and beautiful sight. You let him eat his fill, watching him closely. You know from experience exactly how much he should consume. Enough to feel rewarded, but not so much that his flying weight tomorrow will be compromised. It is a delicate balance, a conversation held through the offering of food. While Otho is enjoying his feast, your attention turns to Alice. As a high-flying peregrine, her reward is slightly different. She has already received a small treat in the field, the head of the duck she caught. Now, back in the Mews, she will be given a more substantial but very clean meal. Peregrines have more delicate digestive systems than goshawks, and they are typically fed lean bird meat. You take the breast of a pigeon you prepared earlier, ensuring it is free of any large bones or tough sinew. You place the meal on a small wooden block inside her pen, a place where she feels secure. She flies down to it and begins to eat with a refined delicacy that stands in stark contrast to the goshawk hour. She eats neatly, methodically. There is a curious historical debate among falconry enthusiasts regarding the specific diets of different raptors. Some medieval texts are incredibly specific, prescribing the meat of certain birds for falcons and different meats for hawks, based on the theory of humors and what was considered a hot or cold food. Other records suggest a more practical approach. You fed the birds whatever was available. You tend to follow a more practical path, but you honor the tradition of feeding bird to bird when you can. After the birds have eaten, you perform another crucial task. You offer them water. A shallow clay dish of fresh, clean water is placed near them. They will drink, and sometimes they will choose to bathe, dipping their heads and shoulders and sending a fine spray of water through the air. A hawk that bathes is generally a healthy, contented hawk. It's a good sign, another small piece of information you log away in your mental ledger of your bird's well-being. A fringe belief, which you secretly find charming, is that a hawk bathing is washing away any lingering bad luck from the hunt. You watch as Alice dips her head, her feathers dark and sleek with water, and you can't help but feel a sense of peaceful closure. The feeding of the hunting hawks is also a time of quiet observation. You watch the way they eat, the way they hold their bodies. Are they eager? Are they lethargic? Is there any sign of injury you might have missed in the field? The slightest limp, a ruffled feather that won't lie flat, a lack of interest in food all. These are subtle signs that something may be amiss. You are their physician as much as their keeper, and this is their daily checkup. Once Otho has finished his portion, you remove what is left. He must not be allowed to gorge himself. You then do something that would seem strange to an outsider. You take the remains of the meal, the bones, the fur, the uneaten parts, and you show them to him before taking them away. It is a clear, final gesture. The meal is over. Some falconers believe this prevents the hawk from developing a habit of hiding food, another aspect of managing the bird's psychology. The Mews is now filled with the quiet, contented sounds of feeding birds. The air, which was charged with the energy of the hunt, has now settled into a deep, domestic calm. The hunters are home, their bellies are full, and they are safe. You have guided them through the dangers of the wild, and now you have brought them back to the sanctuary you have built for them. As the last light of day filters through the high windows, you feel a profound sense of rightness, of a cycle properly completed. The hunt was for the Lord, but this quiet feast, is just for you and for them. The evening meal is over, but the day's duties are not. Just as a knight must tend to his armor and weapons after a battle, you must now tend to the living weapons you command. The physical condition of your hawks is paramount, and the evening is a time for meticulous grooming and care. A quiet session of maintenance that ensures their health and longevity. You begin with Alice the Peregrine. After her bath, her feathers are damp and slightly disordered. You take a soft cloth made from a piece of old, well-worn linen, and you gently stroke her feathers, following the direction of their growth. This isn't just about drying her. It's about helping her rearrange her plumage, ensuring every feather lies perfectly in place. A single out-of-place feather on a wing can disrupt the airflow, affecting her speed and agility in the sky. It's the medieval equivalent of performing a high-precision alignment on a finely tuned racing machine. While you are stroking her, you perform a detailed physical check. You run a gentle finger along the keel bone of her chest. It should be well muscled, but not padded with fat. A sharp keel is a sign of a bird that is too thin. A keel that is hard to feel is a sign of one that is too heavy. You check her feet, examining the yellow, scaled skin for any signs of sores or infection. A common ailment for captive hawks was a condition called bumblefoot, a nasty infection that could cripple a bird if not treated early. You carefully inspect the pads on the bottom of her feet, making sure they are clean and healthy. Next, you check her talons. They must be sharp, but not so long that they interfere with her grip, or could accidentally puncture her own foot. If a talon is too long, you will trim it. This is a nerve-wracking process. Use a small, sharp file, and with the bird held securely on your glove, you gently file down the tip of the talon, a fraction of a millimeter at a time. The line between trimming the dead tip and hitting the live, blood-filled quick is incredibly fine. One mistake could cause pain and bleeding, damaging the trust you have so carefully built. It requires a surgeon's steady hand and an unshakable nerve. Then you move to her beak. Like the talons, the beak grows continuously. In the wild, it is worn down naturally by tearing at tough prey and rubbing against rocks. In captivity, it can sometimes become overgrown. This is a process called coping. You hold Alice gently but firmly, and using a small, sharp knife, you carefully scrape away the excess layers of keratin, reshaping the beak into its perfect, sharp, hooked profile. You work with an intense focus, the knife making a soft, scraping sound. It is a deeply intimate act of trust to allow a sharp blade so close to her eyes. She sits perfectly still, a testament to the thousands of hours you have spent together. There is a fascinating debate among historians about the extent of veterinary knowledge in the medieval period. While much of human medicine was steeped in superstition, the care of valuable animals like horses, hounds, and hawks was often surprisingly practical and sophisticated. Falconry texts describe a range of treatments for common ailments, from herbal poultices for wounds to surprisingly effective methods for treating respiratory infections. You have your own small collection of remedies in a wooden chest dried herbs, salves made from animal fat and beeswax, and clean linen for bandages. You are not just a handler. You are a doctor, pharmacist, and manicurist, all rolled into one. You repeat this process with Otho. Being a more robust bird, he requires less delicate handling, but the inspection is just as thorough. You check his broader, more powerful feet and his formidable talons. You pay close attention to his feathers. A broken feather is a serious problem. If a primary flight feather on a wing is broken, it can throw the bird completely off balance. When this happens, you must perform a procedure called imping. Imping is a remarkable and ancient form of avian surgery. You would take a matching feather, saved from a previous molt or taken from another bird of the same species. You carefully trim the broken end of the feather on the hawk's wing and the base of the replacement feather, shaping them to fit together perfectly. Then you insert a small triangular metal needle called an imping needle into the pith of both feather shafts, joining them together with a type of natural glue, often made from a mixture of resin and egg white. If done correctly, the repaired feather is as strong as the original. It's a brilliant piece of practical engineering, a testament to the ingenuity of ancient falconers. You check Otho's wings and tail carefully, relieved to find no such damage today. Finally, with the physical inspections complete, you perform one last act of grooming. You take a small sponge, dipped in clean, lukewarm water, and you gently wipe any flecks of blood or dirt from the feathers around the hawk's beaks and feet. It is the falconer's version of washing up after dinner. It keeps the birds clean, prevents disease, and is a final, calming point of contact for the day. The birds are now physically perfect, their bodies honed and cared for, ready for a night of restorative rest. The last of the grooming is done. The tools are wiped clean and put away in their proper places on the bench. The Mews is sinking into a deep, velvety twilight. Outside, the sounds of the castle are dying down. The blacksmith's hammer is silent. The shouts of the guards are softer, more distant. A single, mournful horn blows from the top of the keep, signaling the locking of the main gates for the night. The day is officially over for the world of men. But for you, there is one last private ritual. You have tended to all the birds with equal care and professionalism. Otho the goshawk rests full and content. The young Peregrine is settled on his perch, the lessons of the day slowly sinking in. But your feet do not carry you towards your own simple bed. Instead, you find yourself drawn, as you so often are, to the perch where Alice rests. She is not hooded. Her dark eyes, which seem to gather and hold the last vestiges of the fading light, watch you as you approach. The other birds are magnificent creatures, tools of a deadly and beautiful trade. But Alice is something more. There is an intelligence in her gaze, a calm self-possession that feels less like a trained animal and more like a kindred spirit. You have raised her from an eyas, a young chick taken from the nest. You are the only world she has ever truly known. You offer your gloved fist, not with the brisk efficiency of the hunt, but with a slow, gentle reverence. She steps onto it, her weight familiar and comforting. You don't take her outside. Instead, you walk to the high, narrow window at the far end of the Mews and sit on the cold stone ledge, your back against the wall. You hold her there, on your fist, and together you look out at the sliver of deep indigo sky visible between the stones. A single bright star has appeared. This is a time for quiet, for whispers. You begin to speak to her, your voice a low murmur that is barely audible above the soft sigh of the wind outside. You don't speak of lures or of Jesses. You speak of the day. You tell her about the satisfying weight of the duck she caught, about the brief look of astonishment on the Lord's face during her stoop. You tell her about the gossip you overheard from the kitchen maids, about the new litter of pups down in the kennels. It is a one-sided conversation, of course. She does not understand the words, but she feels the vibration of your voice through your arm. She hears the calm, steady cadence, and she remains perfectly still listening. Historians and animal behaviorists still argue about the true nature of the bond between a person and a hawk. Was it ever more than a complex relationship between trainer and trainee, a partnership based on dependency and conditioning? Or could there be something more, a genuine interspecies affection, a form of communication that transcends language? As you sit here, with the warmth of her feet seeping through your glove, her head occasionally turning to brush softly against your cheek, you have no doubt this is companionship. You remember the day the Lord acquired her? She was a diplomatic gift sent by a Welsh prince to seal an alliance. Such was the value of a well-bred peregrine. They were currency, instruments of statcraft, sometimes even used to pay ransom for a captured nobleman. When she arrived, she was little more than a terrified ball of fluff and fury. And you spent weeks, just as you were doing with the new passenger, earning her trust one tiny scrap of meat, one quiet moment at a time. You reach into your pouch and retrieve a small vial of oil. It's a special blend of rendered animal fat and crushed lavender, a recipe passed down to you from the old falconer who taught you your craft. It's a fringe practice, not found in all the formal falconry manuals, but one you believe in. You unstopper the vial, and the clean, calming scent of lavender fills the small space. With your free hand, you dip a single finger into the oil and gently, reverently, you anoint the top of her head, right between her eyes. It is a gesture of blessing, a quiet prayer for her health, for her keen sight, for her safe return from the sky. She closes her eyes for a moment, accepting the touch. The castle is almost completely silent now. The only sounds are the distant cry of an owl and the faint, intermittent tinkle of Alice's bell as she shifts her weight on your fist. You look at her, this creature of wildness and discipline, of fierce independence and profound partnership. She is a living paradox, and your life is woven into hers. You are her earth. She is your sky. You fall silent, simply sharing the stillness. The last of the light has gone, and you sit together in the deep, comfortable darkness of the Mews. The air is cold, but you do not feel it. There is a warmth that radiates from the bird on your fist, a warmth that has nothing to do with body heat. It is the warmth of a shared existence, a silent pact between two predators, two partners, two souls who have found a strange and beautiful home in each other's company. This quiet, stolen moment is the real reward. It is the secret heart of the falconer's life, a treasure more valuable than any bird or any successful hunt. It is the reason you are here. With a final soft stroke of her feathers, you know the quiet time is over. The night is complete, and the Mews must be secured. Gently, you lift Alice from the stone ledge and carry her back to her designated perch. She steps off your glove with the same silent grace she brings to everything, her bow giving one last, soft tinkle as she settles. You fasten her leash securely to its ring. Her eyes, reflecting the deep, stardusted dark outside, follow you as you turn away. Now begins the final patrol. You walk the length of the long stone hall, a slow, quiet inspection of each and every bird. This is your final accounting for the day. You check that each bird is properly tethered, that their footing is secure on the perch. You look for any signs of distress or discomfort. The Mews is your dominion, and its safety is your absolute responsibility. A predator getting in a weasel, perhaps, or a stray cat would be an unthinkable disaster. The heavy oak door at the entrance is barred, the high windows too narrow for anything to pass through. Still you check. As you pass the young Peregrine's perch, you pause. He is hooded, still and silent. His frantic energy from this morning has been replaced by a hard-won calm. He has a long way to go, but the journey has begun. You think of the more extreme methods some falconers were known to use with particularly difficult birds. There was the practice of sealing, where a bird's eyelids were temporarily stitched shut with a fine thread to ensure total darkness and dependency. It was a faster, more brutal method of manning, one that broke a bird's spirit rather than earning its trust. It's a technique you have never used. You believe patience is a sharper tool than any needle? You continue your walk, your soft-soled boots making almost no sound on the sand-covered stone. The birds are beginning to tuck their heads, finding their sleeping posture. A low, contented murmur ripples through the room, a series of soft clucks and sleepy chirps. There's a quiet debate among falconers about what these sounds mean. Are they simply the avian equivalent of sighing before sleep? Or are they a form of communication, a quiet reassurance that all is well within the flock? You like to think it's the latter. You make your own soft cooing sound as you pass, a quiet good night in the shared wordless language of the Mews. You pass the perch of the little kestrel. In the hierarchy of falconry, he is a humble bird, but you hold a deep affection for his plucky spirit. There's an old belief, a piece of castle folklore, that to have a kestrel roosting happily is to bring good fortune and ward off sickness from the household. You don't know about that, but you do know that watching his cheerful, energetic flights brings a simple joy that feels like its own kind of luck. He is fast asleep, a small, perfect bundle of feathers. Your patrol finished. You stand for a moment in the center of the Mews, enveloped by the deep peace of the sleeping building. The air is cool and smells of leather, sand, and the faint, clean scent of the birds themselves. This is your sanctuary, a place of intense, focused work, but also of profound quiet. Your life is governed by the needs of these creatures, a rhythm of hunger and satisfaction, of wildness and control. You have given them your days, and in return, they give you these moments of pure, uncomplicated peace. They give you a purpose that is as sharp and clear as a hawk's eye. With a final look at the rows of sleeping silhouettes, you turn and make your way to your own small alcove. You are tired, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that comes not from a single day's labor, but from a life of constant, vigilant care. You slide off your boots and tunic, and slip under the coarse wool of your blanket. The straw mattress rustles beneath you, a comforting, familiar sound. Your bed is here, not in the noisy barracks with the guards, or in the crowded quarters of the other castle servants. Your place is with the birds. Your head sinks into the lumpy pillow. The last sounds you hear are the gentle, rhythmic breathing of the hawks, the occasional soft shift of feathers, the faint, dreamy tinkle of a tiny bell. These are the sounds of safety, of a world put right, of a duty well done. They are the lullaby of the Mews, a song of quiet trust, sung in a language only you can truly understand. And as you close your eyes, you feel yourself drifting, carried away not into dreams of the sky, but into a deep, dark, and profoundly peaceful sleep. And now, as the last of the day's energy gently fades away, you feel your own mind begin to quiet, your own breathing becoming slower, deeper. The sharp edges of thought begin to soften, melting into the comfortable darkness that awaits you. There is nothing left to do now, nothing left to solve. The work is finished, and the time for rest has finally peacefully arrived. You can let go of the day, allowing it to drift away like a feather on a gentle breeze, leaving behind only a sense of calm and a deep, quiet stillness. Your body feels heavy, comfortably so, sinking into the soft support beneath you. Every muscle can release, every thought can dissolve. You are safe, you are secure, and you are surrounded by a profound and gentle peace. The soft, rhythmic sounds of the Mews become the rhythm of your own slow heartbeat, a steady, soothing beat that guides you effortlessly toward the edge of a deep and restorative sleep. There is only the darkness now, a welcoming and peaceful embrace, ready to hold you until the morning comes again.